Is it possible to craft sustainably while on a budget? We live in a world of endless consumption. Consumerism is now the greatest driver of the US economy, and we've been spoon fed ideas of buy now, pay later, credit cards, online shopping, free 2-day shipping, one click purchasing, and now TikTok Shop. It's never been easier to instantly buy more stuff and spend loads of money. Crafting has always been popular, but now with the rise of craft influencers and the sewing, crochet, knitting, painting, embroidery, and so many more craft niches I could spend all day listing, it's easy to be drawn to try new hobbies in our endless search of happiness. But is it really fulfilling to constantly try new hobbies if your half-finished project sits in a shelf or in a closet collecting dust, never to be finished and marked as a perpetual work in progress? It's so easy to load up your virtual cart with new craft supplies and have it arriving at your house next day just in time for you to start a new endeavor or to endlessly hoard fabric for that someday project just because a store was going out of business or there was a Black Friday sale. Is it sustainable to buy all those supplies for that one special project, never to touch those knitting needles again? If you're new here, I'm Katie. I am a self-proclaimed craftaholic, and on this channel I sometimes do random crafts, but I mostly bring you along for my hand embroidery journey. I design hand embroidery templates and patterns in my free time, and I sell digital PDF downloads online in my Etsy store. My store link will be in the description. Today we're talking about sustainability while crafting on a budget, while I work on my latest cat embroidery. Thanks for watching. I'm really torn between trying new and exciting ways to craft and express my creativity while also maintaining a sense of sustainability and not going broke. Because most importantly, buying all the supplies to try out that really fun looking hobby I saw on social media and then never using it again isn't sustainable for the environment, and it's certainly not sustainable for my bank account. So how can we practice creativity through crafting while maintaining sustainability and staying within a modest budget? First, I should define what sustainability is. In general, sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, considering environmental, social, and economic needs. In essence, reducing, reusing, and recycling what we already have before creating more. We live in a world of finite resources that will be gone, used up, and unavailable for future use if we don't implement sustainable practices now. There are dozens of ways to practice a more sustainable life in general, and those same concepts can be used to practice more sustainable crafting. I've been trying to implement more sustainability into my crafting, and I wanted to share some of the methods I found that work best. And as a bonus, all these methods are cheaper than the conventional consumerism in crafting. The first sustainability practice that comes to mind is buying used crafting supplies. There are so many places to purchase secondhand, gently used, and sometimes even new craft supplies. Secondhand stores, estate sales, yard sales, marketplace, Craigslist, OfferUp, and eBay are all great places to find used or even new but secondhand craft supplies. For embroidery, this can include floss, hoops, fabric, or even books with traceable templates and patterns. For sewing, this could include sewing machines, slightly used bobbins of thread, sewing patterns for quilts, bags, and clothes, and all kinds of fabric including remnants and vintage. It's really easy to find quality used supplies if you're always looking and have an idea of your next project you'd like to work on. This helps focus your search for supplies so that you're not just purchasing used supplies as a form of retail therapy. In addition to these used marketplaces, there's also a variety of ways of getting free craft supplies. There's buy nothing groups, roadside free piles, gifts. I've been to a few free yard sales where everything was, you guessed it, free, and swap shops at local transfer stations. For instance, I had an old Sears Kenmore sewing machine that my dad found in a free pile at the swap shop at the dump. He took it home, oiled it up, and gave it to me because he knew I'd enjoy having a sewing machine available when I was away at college. I had that little sewing machine for nearly 10 years before I decided it was time for an upgrade. It felt amazing giving that free little machine a second life. But when I became more serious about sewing, I knew I needed a machine that was a little bit more powerful. And before I upgraded, I sold that little trusty Sears Kenmore sewing machine on Craigslist to someone that was just getting into sewing and wanted to try it out for a modest price. I then reinvested that money into my used Juki 5550, which I plan to have until my literal death. This machine will outlive me, and I got it for a really good deal on Craigslist from a woman that was a Korean dressmaker who was just downsizing her business. A win for her and a total win for me because it's a great machine and I can fix it and it's never gonna die. Another sustainable way to craft is to turn trash into craft supplies. Some trash that could be turned into craft supplies include plastic bags, glass jars, wrappers, old busted up sailboat sails, burlap sacks, broken pottery and china, and countless other items you'd use once and then throw away could be saved from the landfill and given a second or third life. I bet you could find a second use for just about anything you toss into the trash that doesn't decompose. For instance, when plastic shopping bags were more common, I used to cut up the bags into single long pieces of plastic and knit several strings together to form these really cool knitted plastic bags. It was a cool and fun knitting project where I didn't have to buy any new yarn and I kept a few plastic bags from the landfill. I always got compliments at the grocery store too. Part of me enjoyed knitting plastic bags as a conversation starter and a way to get people thinking about sustainability and turning trash into new reusable items. Speaking of keeping things out of the landfill, upcycling is one of my favorite sustainable crafts. Mending clothes and upcycling is a form of crafting, self-expression, and sustainability. And I have a little bit of a confession to make. I love thrifting. I just love going out to thrift stores on a rainy, wintry day and spending the morning looking for a treasure. And my favorite thrift store is the Goodwill outlet. If you've never been to a Goodwill outlet before, let me tell you, it's an experience. They're all relatively similar, so I'll explain. When you first walk into a Goodwill outlet, the atmosphere is way different than a normal store. It's like Game of Thrones meets the Hunger Games for thrifting. It's an all-out battle to find the best and the most lucrative secondhand items. There's lines of giant bins heaping full of anything you can think of: clothes, shoes, toys, stuffies, bags, really random things like knives. Yeah, I did actually find a bin full of knives once, and I thought that was a lawsuit waiting to happen, so I stayed far away from that bin. But I digress. The bins are systematically changed out every 2 to 3 bins at a time, and the staff closes off an entire aisle while they change out the bins, and then they don't let anyone near the new bins until they reopen the aisle completely. But once those bins reopen, all the professional flippers swarm the bins, racing to find the best items like they're running into a battle. So many of the people at the Goodwill outlets are flippers, selling secondhand online, buying low, selling high, because at the Goodwill outlet, things are sold by the pound, so you can get a lot of things for a relatively cheap amount of money. But I'll let you in on a secret if you promise not to tell anyone. So I don't bother with the new bins. I actually go for the bins that no one is at. And why is no one at these bins? It's because they're filled with the household goods like sheets, towels, curtains, and sewing fabric. And those soft goods, they don't have a high resale value, so no one is even bothering looking through them. But they're a gold mine for crafters and anyone looking to upcycle. The sheet I've been using for this embroidered cat series was found at a Goodwill outlet bin, and it's been one of my favorite purchases. I think I probably paid maybe 25-30 cents for it. It's a super light piece of fabric, but it's gone a long way. I also like to go around the bins everyone has picked through and find the really nice clothes that are somewhat damaged, because the damaged clothes also don't have a high resale value for the flippers, so they get left behind. I have a cashmere sweater that I absolutely loved. It's so soft and the cashmere is a really high quality. But unfortunately, the former owner didn't take very good care of it and it came with a few holes, which is no problem for me because I love an excuse for another project. I already embroidered a simple lavender flower on the lapel, and now I'm mending the holes with some Japanese-inspired visible mending. I love this sweater, and I was able to give it a second life because I could see past the blemishes and visualize a sustainable craft project for myself. There are a million other ways to upcycle used clothes, sheets, towels into something new and unique, or simple to add your own touch with visible mending or an embroidered flower or two. Upcycling thrifted items or things you already have stuffed away in your closet are great ways of crafting sustainably while not spending loads of money. But instead of purchasing something new or even used, why not borrow tools or supplies? Borrowing supplies from friends, grandparents, or even the library is a good way to try new hobbies before investing in your own supplies. I'm personally blessed because my mom is a professional quilter, so I grew up around sewing machines and there were tons of available supplies for me to try new techniques and projects. I was able to borrow my mom's sewing machine, needles, and threads long before I decided sewing was a craft that I really loved and before I invested in an expensive sewing machine for myself. I bet you know someone that has some cool craft supplies that they'd be willing to let you borrow or maybe even have if you just ask them. Maybe you could even suggest a crafting date to work on a new project and swap supplies together. And speaking of borrowing, public libraries oftentimes have loaner programs that expand way beyond books and DVDs. I once belonged to a library that had an entire collection of every cake pan shape you could possibly imagine for loan. It was a really cool idea and allowed people to enjoy those cake shapes collectively. Ask your local library if they have any craft tools available for loan. I think you'd be surprised what they may have. This video is getting a bit long and I still have so many sustainable crafting ideas, so I'll just have to make a part 2. If you like this video, I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments ways you sustainably craft on a budget. Thanks again, and remember, done is better than perfect.